Brother Stelflu mentioned, tonight we'll be discussing how accusations were handled under both the Hebrew and the Roman law. So first, to start us off, what is an accusation? Well, one dictionary brings out that an accusation is a charge or a claim that someone has done something illegal or wrong, and it is a call to account. But it's interesting, one Hebrew word for accusation was sitna, meaning resist. Now, what other word do we think of when we think of resist and sounds a lot like sitna? Doesn't it sound like Satan? Well, you'd be correct. Actually, that word actually comes from the root verb for Satan. So maybe we keep that in mind throughout our discussion. In Greek, the most common word for accuse, kategorio, which carries the idea of speaking against someone, or usually in a judicial or a legal sense. And that's probably the thought we usually think of when we think of this word as well. So then, how were cases of accusation handled under the Hebrew or Roman law? Especially maybe thinking of if that person was actually innocent of that claim. Well, under Hebrew or the Mosaic law, everyone in that nation actually had the responsibility to bring to account wrongdoers if they had become aware of it. And that's actually brought out in Leviticus chapter 5, verse 1, if you would turn with me there. It's Leviticus chapter 5 and verse 1. It says, if someone sins because he has heard a public call to testify, and he is a witness or has seen or learned about it, and he does not report it, then he will answer for his error. So pretty big deal, right? Even a person who knew about it, if he didn't come forward, he could himself become guilty. At the same time, though, the Mosaic law actually provided protection or rights for the accused. For instance, if a person did have knowledge respecting, say, a crime, he had to bring it to proper authorities. However, Deuteronomy 13:12 through 15 actually brings out that the authorities in turn were to search, investigate, inquire thoroughly into the accusations to determine whether there was truth in that matter before, administering punishment. So basically, innocent until proven guilty. If you would turn also to Deuteronomy 19, verse 15, we'll see another requirement in making a valid accusation. This is Deuteronomy chapter 19, verses 15. It says, no single witness may convict another for an error or any sin that he may commit. On the testimony of 2 witnesses or on the testimony of 3 witnesses, the matter should be established. So we see here that it couldn't be just one person pointing a finger at somebody. It actually had to be 1 or 2 or more to make it valid. And also that denotes having proof, or having the stories mesh or jive. So how about then in Roman law? Well, we kind of learned that they actually are very similar to the ways that they were handled in the Mosaic law. They too needed 2 or more witnesses or accusers. They had to search into the matter thoroughly before coming with an answer with it. Even the right to face the accuser in the court of justice, which was also laid out in the law of Moses, was required. And even the Apostle Paul himself took advantage of this when he stood trial before the governors Felix and Festus against the Jews. That account actually is taken from Acts chapters 23 to 25, which we don't have time to go through, but I got a couple verses from those chapters to kind of bring out the point. In Acts 22:30, it talks about that he wanted to know for sure just why he was being accused by the Jews. Acts 23:35 talks about that I will give you a thorough hearing. And Acts 25:16 is Paul's words, it is not Roman procedure to hand any man over as a favor before the accused. Man meets his accusers face to face and gets a chance to speak in his defense concerning the complaint. So we see how it was handled between in Hebrew and Roman times. How about us today? Is there anything that we can take away that would help us in dealing with our brothers and sisters? Say we have heard something that comes to or something has come to our attention regarding one of our brothers and sisters in the congregation. How should we approach it? Well, of course, we would never want to reflect any sort of spirit that would reflect the attitude of Satan. Again, being a word that is derived from that. Satan himself being the accuser of our brothers, who accuses them day and night before our God, as brought out in Revelations 12:10. Well, neither would we want to be, in essence, condoning a wrongdoing by hiding it or not coming forth with it. Rather, let us notice the spirit that we should have, brought out in Matthew chapter 18, verses 15 through 17. If you go there with me. Matthew chapter 18, verses 15 through 17. We'll see the real motivation behind our accusation that we might have to bring across. 18:15. Moreover, if your brother commits a sin, go and reveal his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. But if he does not listen, take along with you one or two more, so that on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, every matter may be established. If he does not listen to them, speak to the congregation. And it goes on from there. But we see the point. Isn't the real motivation love? The gaining of our brother and sister? So, again, as we continue in our service to Jehovah, let us continue to be free of accusation, both individually and as a congregation. In this way, we may make the heart of our perfect lawgiver, Jehovah God, rejoice.